These are the instructions with for the camera, the D800, right? D800 with 2.8
the aperture
lens on it. Okay, there you go, 2.8, and it's on manual, right?
Right now, as you can tell, it's on manual because of the M right there.
Okay.
You can hit mode in this knob right here and
Where
switch
is the mode?
Right here.
Okay, that's the mode.
And then everything goes away. And then you can just switch it around.
And the switch is right there, right on the bottom, right there. Okay. You were telling me about these little.
This thing right here is really important.
Yeah.
If you're like shooting in lower light, of course you probably want to bump it down. What I did here is like I drew a circle to show you how wide the lens would be open in this scenario. And then over here it's a lot smaller.
It's completely.
It's kind of
almost shot, right? Like it's got this little kind of like layer of things that comes darkening the image, right?
Right.
The lens. Yeah.
It's basically, you know, it's hard to think of because, you know, 2.8 is actually not a smaller opening, it's actually a larger opening.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's one thing to keep in mind. So now you don't get confused when you're shooting and maybe you're in a low light scenario and you think, oh, well, 22, that's going to be good because it's a higher number, it's a bigger opening. It's actually
it's the other way. Yeah, in photography I find everything is the other way around.
The other way around. Yeah. So that's something.
Everything is upside down.
So I just drew two of them. This is your lowest one, and this probably is your highest one.
Okay.
It might even go higher than that, depending on what lens you have on there, what the camera's capable of doing.
So how would you change that?
So what I would change that right here. I like to go
let's say right now
I'm on manual, so I can change.
It's on manual, right?
Yeah. So I can change everything.
Achieve which way? Like, oh, it's on S though. On the other side, you see that S? S means what? Shutter priority?
I believe this is just a single shot.
Single shot. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
right. That's why.
So I can just, it's a single shot.
Okay. And now it took some time, right, for it?
Yeah. So see the little quotes next to one?
Yeah.
That means it's 1 second. You notice what happens when I see the quotes in a way?
Yeah.
That's not even a second. See how they're getting periodically faster?
Yeah. How do you do that? How do you
I'm just switching. This is your shutter button, your shutter speed right here.
Yeah.
See how it's changing?
Yeah.
Your fastest one, I think, is 8,000.
Okay, I see.
Really quick.
So the darker the scene, the higher you can go.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is 8,000 is really quick. So I'm going to go down because I don't need it to be that
So right
quick.
now it's 100, right? Or, I mean, since we're in the shade, what would you say, like 200 is better?
Probably. Let's see what the light meter reads.
How do you see the
light meter? See the little right here? That keeps on changing.
Oh, it's like from 0 to something?
Yeah. See how it just jumps?
Yeah, I see.
I'm just moving the camera around.
That's a meter there?
That's the meter right there.
Okay.
And what that's telling me is right now it's going to be overexposed by about one third stop.
Okay.
See how it goes down when I move the aperture? The aperture is right here. You can control the aperture right here.
That's the aperture. Like you move it over there.
Yeah. See how it's changing that? So
when you move it, it moves the...
like if I wanted to shoot a picture of what I'm looking at now, it's saying I'm overexposed by quite a bit.
So how do you know that by the light sensor, right?
Yeah, you see how the black bars go all the way out to the right?
Yeah,
So what I do to fix that?
That's overexposed, right? Okay.
So what I can do to fix it, I can do two things. I can move the shutter to be faster, see how it's going down?
Yeah.
Now I can do it. Or I'll go back to 400. Or I could do this a few stops.
Okay.
Now, but those things are doing completely different things, and this is like important to keep in mind.
I see.
If I'm using Aperture to fix my light meter, to get it to a correct exposure, now the higher the number, the more focused things will be in the frame.
Okay.
If I'm over here at 22, like everything is going to be in focus. You won't have any like shallow depth of field or anything.
Oh, I see. Even with this lens.
Exactly.
Got it. So the higher that number, the aperture, the more in focus it is.
Correct.
Got it.
So that's something to keep in mind when you're trying to get a correct exposure. You have to ask yourself, what do I want to sacrifice?
I see. Now you don't have to press two buttons to get the aperture.
Right. You can do both simultaneously. Like See how it's
Either top one or the back one, right?
Yeah, so this is your shutter is gonna be right here, and then your aperture is how much
Oh, I see what you're saying. So aperture here, shutter here.
Correct. And that's what I like about the Nikon body, because Canon doesn't have the knobs here.
Oh, I see.
It just has one.
Got it.
And so you have to do like this weird double button thing for the aperture.
Okay.
But if you're on a tripod, I'd recommend like shooting on manual.
On the tripod is better on manual. And how did you switch on to manual, by the way?
Yeah. So
before it was P something. P.
So I had
the star or
mode.
And
then I use the shutter button. See?
Oh, I see. And what's the difference between that M and then P? P means what? Program mode?
So M is like completely manual. You are in control of what settings you want to do with your settings.
See. Okay.
Program
Except
says
ISO though, right? Because right now the ISO we set it to automatic.
Right, and I can see what my ISO is right now. Just hitting ISO button, so it's 400. The ISO button.
ISO over there, right? Yeah.
So on P, basically it's saying the camera's saying I'm gonna do everything for you.
Camera is basically automatic, yeah.
Basically it's saying here's what the lighting environment is. This is gonna get you a nice solid exposure.
Yeah.
If say we're in a really dark environment and it can't go low enough as an aperture, it's gonna blink. It's gonna be like it's not gonna work.
It's like It's like so whenever it blinks, that means it's like I cannot help you here.
Right. Exactly. The thing is though, this camera has the capability of just to show you ISO to go really high up there.
Yeah.
You can pretty much get a shot in a lot of the environments. H2, H1, H.7, 0.3.
Yeah.
Those are all above 6400.
That's even above 64.
That's really crazy. Like,
But then
I wouldn't recommend shooting there.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a lot of noise, and I'm just gonna show you a test real quick for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna shoot it at okay, and then I'm gonna shoot it at a normal ISO. Going back down to 100. 100 is great for right now.
100, yeah. During the day, right?
Okay, so now we're gonna compare. First of all, I love the lens.
It's good, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So this is okay.
We'll zoom in more and see if we can see any of that noise.
This is which one?
Wow. Your camera actually doesn't have a lot of noise.
Even at the 64 something?
Yeah.
Really?
You can kind of see it there a bit.
Let's see.
See the like discoloration in there a little bit. It's like a yellow. Can you see it?
Yeah, with the camera I cannot. But okay.
It's very, very subtle. But just, be careful of shooting at high ISO.
Yeah. Like I probably wouldn't.
Especially like when you're in dark environments, shadow areas, under tables, if you're at a music venue, a restaurant, you're gonna just see like colored pixels. You'll just
So beyond what would you say like I shouldn't go?
I'd say I like to keep mine at 3200 or lower, because you can buy 6400 speed film.
If you're shooting with film, right?
Yeah, I've used 3200 speed film, and I find that when you shoot it in digital and you make it black and white, it's kind of nice. It looks like film almost, because it has the noise, but there's no color in it when it's black and white.
What does A mean?
So, A is aperture priority.
Oh, okay.
Aperture priority is cool. This is what I would recommend if you're walking around shooting. So check it out.
So, like, if the camera is handheld.
Right. So if I'm like walking around shooting.
Yeah.
Watch what happens here. So I'm just gonna move the camera around. Just film this little box right here.
Yeah.
So see, my aperture is solid.
7.1, right?
Right. But look what happens when I move. The shutter speed keeps changing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, automatically.
So the reason why I would say that's good to to walk around and shoot is because, let's say the subject you're wanting to photograph is, you know that you want the background to be blurry.
Yeah.
So you set your aperture. Exactly. You set your aperture at, let's say 4.5, right?
Yeah.
That means that whenever you shoot them, that background is going to be consistent and blur. But if the lighting changes, your camera recognizes that and says, I got the shutter speed for you. You just worry about taking the picture, you know?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
But you know, you got to be careful if you're going into like a cave because it'll be really, really dark. Watch.
I see. Okay.
See what happens when I close it? See, check it out.
Yeah, it went even 80. Remember?
See?
Oh yeah, right there. You see it?
So you got to be careful of like how dark you go when you're in that.
So, but do you remember it was even on P? It had the aperture priority, right?
Well, P has everything. So shutter, aperture, it's gonna move it around, but it's not. It's let's say that you want a certain thing. It's not gonna care what you want. Check it out. Like, okay, I would like to shoot the subject with a blurry background, right?
Yeah.
So I raise up to shoot. I'm not gonna get a blurry background if I'm at 9. You know?
Right. So the lower the number, so closer to 2.8, that's why they put on the lens, right? That like the best capability of this lens is when it's at 2.8, right?
Well, that's saying
is that what they
that's
say?
that's just
like
it's maximum aperture.
maximum openness, right?
Yeah. So this is considered a prime lens.
Oh, it is prime lens?
Well, I mean, it's a lens with the aperture that's frozen in the zoom. What I mean is I can zoom in to 70 and still have 2.8.
Yeah.
And I can go to 24 and still have 2.8. That's good because most lenses, when you when I go from film right here, when I go from 24,
Yeah.
what happens to the aperture is it periodically gets more closed because the lens is zooming
This
in.
lens somehow adjusts no matter at
it
what.
can keep it open.
Yeah.
Which
what
is
millimeter you are.
which is another reason why it's so expensive.
That's why, exactly. Yeah.
A lot of lenses will say instead of 2.8, it'll say 3.5 to or 3.3 to 5.6. Or
because it varies as you move the millimeters, right?
exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
So right now it's on P, which is program mode, right? Meaning,
Yeah. And it says I'm gonna do everything for you, and it's not gonna matter
so
how
I shouldn't
blurry.
take care of. I shouldn't think about like should I keep it at P on like when I'm walking, or should I put it on A? Aperture. Aperture is better.
I mean, of course, it's your call because in the end, it's how you want to shoot. But I say A because I know I like to have control of how blurry or how in focus things are in the background as far as the whole composition.
Yeah.
If I want to shoot a group of people,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to aperture, right?
Oh, so everyone's in focus, you're saying?
Yeah. So what would you do? What would you do if you were say approached and you 6 people were in the frame?
Yeah.
What aperture would you put that on?
Okay, what aperture? Let's see. The higher the number of the aperture, the more in focus everything is.
Right.
So I put the higher.
Yes, exactly. And this is kind of the questions you should be asking yourself, like when you're composing something, you know.
Okay.
So I'd probably go to this. I'd probably go around to like 13 or 11.
Okay.
Because I still want like a little bit of blur in the background.
Yeah.
You know, because I want them to pop out.
Right. 22 is completely sharp. That's everything
basically
blank.
two-dimensional almost. It looks like you don't see a lot of separation between subject and background.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So keep it at aperture.
Yeah. So let me just show you real quick here. I'm going to shoot a picture of f/22. See, everything's pretty much the same pane of focus.
Yeah. It doesn't distinguish the background and foreground.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so now I'm going to go down to 2.8. Cool thing about your lens is it still zooms and it gets to 2.8.
Yeah.
So check it out now. Okay, so this is the one with 2.8, and then this is the one at 22.
22.
See the difference there?
Yeah.
It's going to be more dramatic for the closer the things are to you, you know. That statue is kind of further away.
So this actually answers my question when I want everything in focus.
Exactly.
Just play around with the aperture.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly. So your aperture is the crucial. I mean, that's basically saying this is how much light comes in, but also this is what's controlling my focus, how many things are in focus. 2.8 is going to be very sharp focus, but the line of focus is really small.
Yeah.
You know, you can only get... See, look at the line of focus. You can see it.
Yeah, it's very narrow.
See where it is right here? You can see that going across. The line of focus is very narrow.
Yeah.
That's on 2.8. Now if I go to 22, say the same shot. See how much more focused that is? It's the whole thing.
Essentially everything is in focus.
Yeah, so I'll compare that. I'll go back and forth here for you.
Exactly. So this answers my question. Thank you.
The 2.8 is really nice if you want your subjects to pop.
Yeah, it's more.
It has the ability to kind of grab people's attention faster because whatever
you direct the people's focal attention.
Exactly.
Focal point.
I mean, the whole time really, because you're basically saying this background is just it's a palette for this person to pop out of.
Exactly.
That's how I kind of look at it.
Exactly.
So
background is not important, it's the subject.
So when you're walking around, I would definitely recommend using Aperture.
Okay.
You should. I think there's one thing I've noticed, like when I was over in France and traveling and all these different places, you're exposing yourself to so many like opportunities to shoot awesome things. That if you let program mode do it all, like your results are going to be all over the place. Imagine like a bar graph or like a line graph, just like all over the place. Just this is really bright and the subject is all in focus. And now this one is the background is blurry. Like you want consistency. So I think program mode is great if you don't really want to think about it. But I think when you start to think about it, to be more creative in photography, you should be on the manual kind of thing. You should be understanding like how these things are actually working. Because from the minute when you do that, like that is you're basically understanding what photography is. So P again, to reiterate, it does everything for you. Right. Not a lot of creative control. Actually, none. Shutter priority is just like aperture priority, but reverse. It's shutter instead. So the aperture changes, the shutter speed stays the same. See that? Yeah. That's good if you absolutely have to capture something that's going fast or like maybe like Olympics. Oh, so it's for fast moving objects. Yeah, because like, okay, so I know that my shutter speed has to be above, let's say 1,000. Yeah. So it's not gonna let it go below that. Got it. See? So it's gonna be really quick. So I wanna go 25. See what's changing only? Just and see how subtle that is? I'm barely even moving the camera. And those are huge jumps. Yeah. So this is like another reason why I would not say shutter speed is the best. So aperture priority is better. Yeah. I say because like let's say your subject was standing over here to the left, right? Yeah. So your subject's over here and then he moves over here. What if that's a whole different like light scenario, It could be a whole different scenario. Got it. So that's why I would kind of stray from shutter. I would keep it on A and M. Those are the ones I go to, yeah. Right. So those are the only options, right? ISO. I'll go with the ISO because I don't think we actually touched up on that much. Yeah. Lowest, this is probably, I don't know, I'd have to check in the manual, but I'm assuming this is either 25 or 50. Yeah. Really low ISO. That's like when it's too light. That's like I'm at a festival. There's no trees. There's nothing like that. It's just the sky and like everything is sunshine. Exactly. Right? So I'm at say a music festival and there's just sun. There's no clouds in the sky. Nevada or something. Yeah. You're in Burning Man. Yeah. Good point. Right? You would definitely want a low ISO for Burning Man. Yeah. So let's say there's a few clouds in the sky where we're getting a little bit of overcast. Yeah. Probably go 100 to 125. And I'm changing it by holding ISO down and just moving this. Moving the shutter thing. Yeah. So I like to, like on a day like today, I'd probably keep it around. Does it alter the ISO now? Oh, you took it off automatic? How did you do it without going into the menus? I think I hit this when I see. I'm holding ISO down and I'm hitting the aperture button. So ISO. Oh, now, right. Oh, look at it jumps to auto and not auto. Okay. Just by a little knob. You move that from there. Okay, got it. Nikon's easy to like. Yeah, you don't have to go into the menus. Thank God. I activated it in menus. Yeah. Thank God, yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna take it off ISO for the sake of like examples. Yeah. So, oops. Okay. So on a day like today, I kind of look around and there's a few overcasts, a few clouds, a little bit gray.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go to about 200.
So when it's cloudy, 200.
200 to 400.
Any in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if it's heavy clouds, heavy gray clouds, you know,
Yeah.
dark clouds, and it's really blocking out a lot of the sun,
Yeah.
you would even maybe bump it up to like 500.
Okay.
The minute you get indoors, and after 6 p.m. indoors, you know,
Yeah.
not a lot of light coming in,
Right.
say 640, 800,
Okay.
I'm seeing a band play. I'd try to do it 1,000, depending on how the stage lights are. You know, if there's a lot of like low, dim red lights, blue lights from the stage,
Yeah.
you might want to bump it up to 16. And if it's a really like intimate acoustic, kind of like, I'm just basing it
Completely
on
dark. Yeah, yeah.
what I've seen, you know, you probably want to do
Yeah. From your
32.
experience. 32, huh?
The cool thing is that your lens is really good, so
Because it opens the aperture.
you
Yeah.
won't have to worry about bumping ISO up a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Got it.
And another thing about your camera is if you do, you're not going to get nearly as much noise as other cameras. It's going to be nice and smooth.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you're going to be able to do something with that image.
Yeah. It's possible to play with it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to leave it on auto for right now. Auto is really not a bad thing. The camera, you know, I usually don't like to let the camera do a lot for me. But the one thing it
this
does
way you're more
kind of
creative.
well is the ISO, because it understands like you don't need 3200 right now. It's smart, you know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Like, you know, it's a no-brainer, right? It
Yeah.
takes care of it.
The camera kind of is like saying, duh. Well, I don't
Come
need
on, what are you
3200.
doing?
Yeah.
What do you need? Yeah.
So,
Okay.
as like
So-
also single, continuous, low speed, high speed.
Yeah.
I think this is a quality change. It looks like
Yeah, yeah. It looks like it. Yeah.
multiple.
No, that's a mirror up.
Oh, mirror lockup.
Lock up. Yeah. And the other one is a timer.
Yeah, self timer button.
Yeah. It's got two different.
See, that's low speed,
Yeah.
high speed.
Yeah.
awesome.
And I mean, it's not as high as fast as
Well,
the Mark III, but.
we'll check it out. So if
nevertheless.
we can see how actually, you know, fast it can go. Go to manual.
Yeah.
Let's bump it up to 8,000.
Uh huh.
Put it on high speed.
Okay.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. Is it?
For a camera to shoot 13 high resolution raw images at 36 megs.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. You know? I messed up the focus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I like doing it on solo shot.
Yeah.
Because also-
most likely I'll probably keep it on.
It's gonna not wear down your battery as fast, depending on how
That's
long you'll be
true.
out in the field.
Right. Right.
Wow, this is a nice camera.
Good. You like it?
This is a plus and minus.
Yeah, I always wondered what is that?
That's gonna overexpose it, regardless of what you're. Okay, so think about it like this. I'm gonna go to a correct exposure real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just find out where it is. 640 at 7.1 is going to be a good exposure. So if I have my exposure at the textbook exposure, this is going to be equilibrium exposure, you know? Mm-hmm. And I hit this, it's saying, what do you want to do? And I do the shutter button.
Yeah.
So that's saying whatever your exposure is, if it's correct, it's going to overexpose it +3. So you could be at a good exposure,
Yeah.
but this is overriding that exposure by +3, 0.3 I mean.
Okay.
This is kind of like bracketing in the
So it's
sense.
like increments, right? It's like
Yeah.
in between two different exposures.
Yeah.
Say that?
Well, see, like basically, I'll show you the difference real quick here so we can see it firsthand. So I'm going to do a correct exposure. Okay. That's a correct exposure for the environment we just shot.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit dark.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm going to shoot the same exposure, but I'm going to do +2.
Okay.
See how much brighter it is?
Oh yeah.
So basically, that's overriding whatever like your exposure is, and saying the camera's overexposing it for you. Do I use that a lot? Not really, because I like having control of how much I want to overexpose it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So again, this is a normal exposure with no exposure compensation.
Yeah.
This is with exposure compensation.
That's two different pictures.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And I honestly, this was the same,
Yeah.
but I just had that on.
You just bumped that up. Yeah.
So that's how much you want to overexpose it or underexpose it.
Under 2. Wow.
And you notice if you have that on, that little icon will pop up.
Yeah. And how do you deactivate it?
You just put it to 0.
Oh, okay. It goes away. Cool. And also, I guess my only question left is, you see right now, you switched it, right?
Yeah,
It was in the center?
Center weighted focus.
What is the difference between them all?
You probably want to
3 of them, right?
Yeah, you want to spot focus, center. I think it's like...
Which one is the one in the center?
I like it like this one right here. That's going to be everything. So that's like...
That's how it was when I first got
factory,
the camera.
yeah, factory.
Factory set. Now,
I would... You know, I need to read up a little bit more because I only use that one. And it's fine. I know that this...
And I see you switched to the other one. And
Yeah.
what's the other one?
The other one is more so it's like... It's not... Basically, they're like metering evaluations, right? So if I'm like shooting something and there's a window behind it, and I have that one, just the dot, it's not really taking consideration of what that light behind them, the wind coming through the window is doing to the actual photograph. You know, this one is saying everything background. I'm not sure what the third one is, but it's like, it's an evaluation of the light, and it's also saying, okay, so your focus is the subject in front of this light. What is that light doing to the subject, you know? This one is just purely the light on the subject, the light hitting the subject. It's not really taking consideration the light coming from behind the subject. Does that make sense?
So, in other words, this has to do with
It's like how the...
with what it focuses on. Is it the focus or is
so
it
like
more of the light?
so the subject, right? The light hitting the subject is being evaluated for the first one. The second one is like the light coming from behind the subject and that.
Oh, I see. It's like 360.
Taking consideration.
So in other words, just keep it at the center.
Yeah, you want all the light.
Yeah, those screws. Yeah, okay. Got it.
Unless you're doing really dramatic stuff, but honestly, these things now, you know, I'm not saying get lazy, but the digital age, like it's pretty smart.
Yeah.
It's gonna give you a nice exposure.
I see. And one more question. This button, you see that button? I'm sorry. This, not function. Function, I guess, it's like you can. Yeah. What is that?
That's your aperture preview.
Preview?
Yeah. So that's going to show you how blurry things are.
Oh, if you're looking through
If you
through
see-
the viewfinder.
Yeah. Do you know what happens when you do?
What happens? Can you see?
Probably.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Really?
Yeah. It makes
It's
everything
getting
lighter.
darker.
Yeah.
So basically saying like, so watch, if I go up to 22, let me just make sure it's right. It's going really dark. See how dark that is?
Yeah.
That's saying everything's in focus. It's showing you how much is going to be in focus by showing you darker shades of you know.
Okay, got it. So it's just a preview. You don't need to use it that much.
Yeah, see?
So now it's on a lockup. Oh, we actually kept it. Did you put it on the lock?
Oh, I just did
The
live view.
This thing.
Oh no, sorry, yeah, I didn't. Live view is cool.
That's the live view, right?
You don't get the exposure lock on live view. This is how you do your focus in live view.
Yeah.
I don't really like live view too much.
not too
It's
much, yeah.
it's kind of like a little point and shoot, and you don't have a point and
For
shoot.
a camera,
You should use it like a camera.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that I hardly use a aperture preview.
Yeah.
A lot of the old film cameras, it makes sense because you really want to know how much of that scene is going to be in focus.
So essentially, it's like basically useless for nowadays
You
digital
can
cameras.
just look really quickly, and if you don't like it, you can delete it.
Yeah, you take a picture and then you delete it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are a lot of the, like I wouldn't get too much into exposure. This is auto exposure lock.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry too much about those things right now. That's good if you're like studio settings. You don't want anything to change.
Yeah.
Shooting
everything is
still
fixed.
life.
Yeah.
This is great exposure. This is what I want. You shoot for a day, you come back the next day, nothing can change because it.
So it stays even if you turn off the camera.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It remembers it,
So
and
that's that thing, that button. Got it. Yeah.
autofocus continuous. That's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, AFC, right? That's the continuous. When you press the shutter halfway, no matter how you move within the scene, it constantly updates the focus, right?
I would leave it like that.
Yeah.
You know.
So photography, just to recall, is photo means in Latin light.
Oh yeah.
And graphy.
Yeah.
Photography, photo is light, graphy is writing. So writing with light.
Yeah. So that's the cool thing to think about. It's like it's when my teacher told me that, I was just it makes sense.
So you basically write with light. Yeah, it's like you are the writer.
Yeah.
Except you write.
You've seen those long exposures where people have like a flashlight and they like write words.
Yeah. Like Picasso did the bulls and
that's
things.
so amazing. Yeah.
That's actually long exposure, right?
Very long exposure.
How long do you think?
So this brings up another point. Let's go back to manual for a second, right?
Yeah.
Remember the shutter speed is this one right here.
How do you switch to manual again?
Mode and then shutter button over here.
Okay.
So you hold down mode the whole time.
Yeah.
So check it out. If I go down, remember when you see the quotes here, you're going to into actual seconds.
Yeah.
So 1 second, 1.3 seconds, 1.6, 2, and so on.
Yeah.
Bulb.
Bulb means what?
Watch what happens when I do bulb.
A flash bulb?
As long as I have my finger on that shutter, it's open. When I let go.
Okay. So that's how you do long exposure.
Yeah.
And it's not going to screw around with your sensor and everything? It doesn't
Because
kill it?
you're not doing a mirror lockup. It's normal. Now, if you're doing mirror lockup, you might have like,
Got it. Okay.
So like, this is great for when you're doing like night photography. So like, let's
but it has to be on a tripod. You can't just move it because everything's going to be a mess.
See what happens in the daytime.
White stuff. Okay.
So that's bulb. So when they were shooting that picture with Picasso picture, probably the photographer, I assume, had a tripod set up.
Yeah.
He had a
So
remote
they basically
trigger.
Opened it for as long as he was drawing it.
Yeah, as long as he was drawing it. Yeah.
That's it.
But they probably. The crazy part about that photo is like they didn't get that on the first try. He had to draw that many times.
Oh yeah.
Because the exposure, it's felt like you can't just get it. It's not digital back then, so you had to like meter it, bracket it.
Experiment. Yeah.
And are you familiar with bracketing? Do you know what bracketing is?
Actually, it has that. It has bracketing.
I like to do bracketing manually.
BKT.
Right here.
What is that, by the way? I was curious about it. Everyone talks about it.
So you see what happens here? So.
Oh, it's on bulb now. That's why.
Yeah. Let me put that up to 60. 60 is a rule of thumb is the slowest you can shoot without getting any blur.
The 60 is the ISO?
60 is the shutter speed.
Shutter speed, right.
Is the slowest shutter speed that you should try to shoot with.
Without the blur?
And like if you're doing 40, there might be blur because your hand it's impossible to hold your hand steady. Especially with a heavy camera like this.
Yeah.
No.
When you press the button. Yeah.
So if you're handheld, try not to go below 60.
Got it. Okay. That's for the shutter.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Back to bracketing.
So bracketing, right? You press the bracketing button and then you move the shutter.
See what it sees 0.3, 0.7, 1.
So what is that? What is bracketing?
So bracketing. So basically, let's say, okay. So imagine that we're having a correct exposure, right?
Yeah.
So in the middle is a correct exposure.
Yeah.
What your camera does is also it takes a series of 3 photos, not boom, 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 but it's letting you take them at your rate. So the first picture is going to be exposed in the middle, correct exposure. Next picture it shoots, when you shoot it,
underexposed.
It's going to underexpose at about 1 stop, depending on what stops you have here.
Yeah.
0.3, 0.7 or 1,
okay.
1 whole stop. See? See what's happening there? 9 frames.
What does it mean though?
Oh, sorry. I'm just making sure you're seeing what's reacting there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna explain it. Off, of course, is none.
Yeah.
Zero frames. Yeah.
Right.
Basically, it says 0 frames.
Okay.
So we have 3 frames, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm controlling this bracketing by once again the shutter and the aperture buttons.
Also, okay.
So the shutter button controls how many frames you're shooting bracketed. See how I switch it and it goes 9, 7, 5, 3, 0.
Why would you need 9 when you can have...
you've seen those HDR photos?
Yeah.
You shoot 9 different exposures and you combine them all to get all the values.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I rarely use that. I don't know why. So let's go back through this again.
So on average, you would go like underexposed, exposed, and overexposed.
Correct.
Right?
Here's
so
how I would do 3, right?
Yeah, that's 3 now, right?
And I would do something that's going to show you some different results.
Okay.
See how close those lines are?
Let's see.
0.3 stops away. See how close they are? So it's 7. They kind of go a little bit further away.
Yeah.
And then 1. You're going to get the most drastic results with 1. 7. I would only, if I was going to be bracketing, I would do 3 frames at 0.7 or 1. You're not going to see much of a difference really with 0.3. Is maybe a better way to put it is the difference you will see can be easily done post by bumping just a tad up, you know?
Oh, I see. So
like the smallest adjustment, you know?
Got it.
So
okay.
I would say if you're really wanting to see bracketing, make them further out. So like this.
Yeah, this is 1, right? Okay.
So 3 frames is 1 stop. 3 frames, 1 stop apart each.
Yeah.
0, 1 under, and 1 above. If I go to 5, 2 above, 2 over, and 0.
I see. Yeah. 0 is like the
just a good textbook exposure.
Yeah. Equilibrium.
7 is crazy, and 9 is crazy. It's off the charts.
Too far.
It's off the charts.
Yeah.
It's great that it has it though. See, +3, -3, so you can only shoot.
Damn, this thing is like.
This is crazy.
It goes to space too, huh?
Yeah, it goes to space, does your dishes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it off of there for you. 0. I would probably recommend against shooting a lot of bracketing exposures.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, if you wanted to do it, you can do it just as easy here. So check it out. I'm on manual mode.
Yeah.
I need to get a good exposure. It's way too bright, so I have to have either a shutter speed increase or a aperture decrease to a higher number, which is a slower opening.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the shutter speed, so I'm going to take this one right here. Okay, so there's a good exposure. Well, it's right there. Okay? So at 6/40th of a second, at 3.5, I get a good exposure. Okay? And now let's say I want to bracket that. I want to do it myself though.
Yeah.
So there's our good exposure. Oh, we gotta find it. There it is. So now what I do, I can do aperture up 1, aperture down 1, aperture up 2, aperture down 2. See all these different things? Yeah. So that's basically what bracketing is doing. See, basically the changes are in the trees.
Yeah. They become darker. Right? Yeah.
But I would recommend bracketing yourself because it's really quick to do and you don't have to worry about going into a menu, holding another button down.
So bracketing is when you're not sure what you're doing in terms of light.
Yeah, I want to cover my grounds basically.
Yeah, I see
you know what I mean?
It's more like insurance. Yeah.
Exactly. So like I think I got a good one, but I want to make sure if it's too bright, I'm going to knock it down a bit, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe, let's say I'm shooting a picture of you.
Yeah.
Really bright forehead because the sun's right on your forehead.
Yeah.
Let's bump it down a few. I can get the information on your forehead. And if need be, I can actually put that into the photo later.
I see.
Combine those photos again, you know?
Exactly.
Comping.
Yeah. Comping. What is it called?
It's compositing.
Compositing. So we covered everything, right? Small shadow priority, blah blah blah.
What is that?
And white balance.
Quiz for you.
Shutter speed bulb.
Good. Yeah.
Yes. Quick learn.
White balance is auto.
Yeah, now it's on auto, but the higher the number, the warmer it is.
Yeah, warmer and cooler.
Yeah, more.
It's like a Kelvin scale.
Yeah, I see. So the lower the number is, the cooler it is.
Yeah, and a good way to like understand that is like when you go to the store, the utility store, and you buy light bulbs. They'll tell you what Kelvin they are.
Okay.
And so if that light bulb is 4,000 Kelvin and you calibrate your camera to 4,000 Kelvin, you're gonna be neutral. Does that make sense?
Okay.
You want to neutralize the photo. You don't want to have a blue cast. You don't want to have a red cast.
Yeah.
So that's why daylight 5500. If you do 5500, you're gonna get a nice neutral exposure.
Right.
These are the main things. Yeah, aperture. Understand that. You know.
Yeah.
Once you understand aperture and shutter speed, how they relate to each other, golden.
You're good. Yeah. Okay.
I would use aperture and manual mode only.
Okay.
But it's helpful to know program an S if you need them, if you're at a sporting event or something.
Yeah, I'll probably keep it on A. Aperture.
I would.
Yeah.
I used to shoot on Aperture.
Even on the tripod, it's okay too.
Oh, yeah,
if you're
it's
on
fine.
a tripod.
I would like
shooting models indoors or outdoors.
Yeah, the reason
too.
I'm saying use manual on a tripod is it makes yourself think more, and you want to challenge yourself too.
Yeah, because otherwise you forget things and it's
Forget
like,
how they work.
What if you get into a situation when you have to do a manual thing?
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.